Today's programming is brought to you in part by Eckhard Retirement and Financial Investments. Eckhard, think about the future. Adam, what is best in life?
To crush your enemies, to drink all their beer, and to see what's in the VHS collection.
No, what is best in life?
To crush your enemies, to always try your best, and to finally use all your Arby's coupons?
No, damn it, just forget it.
Well, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. Oh, hey, mates. I'm just getting psyched up for today's adventure on behalf of Barbarian Tapes, where I'm going to be discussing all types of Barbarian movies, from Conan to the Beastmaster to Deathstalker, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a great time. And I'm Captain Adam, and let's get on with the adventure. Yar!
Barbarian. The word itself has taken on many meanings through time. The most ancient definition is a member of a community or tribe not belonging to one of the great civilizations. Another meaning is a person that is perceived to be uncivilized or primitive, brutish, and murderous. And the milder, more modern meaning is someone who is crude, such as someone who belches loudly in restaurants. As time went on, all these meanings got smooshed into one and gave us the standard perception of a barbarian. And what really culminated our images of barbarians is the famous Dungeons & Dragons, which featured barbarians as one of the class of characters you can play as, with their advantage being in great strength, and while they couldn't use magic or heal members of your party, they could do things like smash down doors or punch a dragon right in the face. And Dungeons & Dragons also gave us the atypical barbarian imagery, a big muscular guy with a big sword or axe and fur underwear. And that imagery would pass on through cartoons and video games, but nothing cemented the barbarian image into pop culture quite like Conan the Barbarian, which was released in theaters May 14th, 1982, and is based on a character created by Robert E. Howard, and was first featured in Weird Tales magazine all the way back in 1932, which has been the subject of many pulp magazines and comics through time, with the two main publishers being Marvel and Dark Horse Comics. So really, the image of a barbarian was brought to the public eye by Robert E. Howard, made famous by Dungeons & Dragons, and since all this imagery would look great on film, it was made immortal by Conan the Barbarian. And not only would Conan cement barbarian imagery, but also cement Arnold Schwarzenegger as a household name. And it's debatable that whether this or The Terminator was Arnold's breakout role, since they were released within 2 years of each other. But either way, Arnold would become the great action star of the 80s, and it would be a decade of destruction, with Commando, Running Man, The Predator, and Twins. Well, and this trend would continue on into the 90s with The Last Action Hero, True Lies, and Eraser. And yeah, I'll bring up the awful Batman and Robin, because his portrayal of Mr. Freeze is the only reason people went to see this garbage. But I digress, because this show isn't about Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's about barbarian movies. And Conan the Barbarian would also be one of James Earl Jones's best roles, as he portrayed the snake cult leader, Thulsa Doom, the man responsible for killing Conan's people. And I've been trying to get a Conan the Barbarian themed Tex-Mex snack line off the ground, such as Salsa Doom, but so far it hasn't taken shape. But anywho, Conan the Barbarian would go on to be released on VHS later on in 1982, and then again in 1990, and both of these distributions are rather easy to find today and pretty cheap. Or you can get the Grease version for $65. Now, the saga of Conan wouldn't stop with Conan the Barbarian, and neither would the Barbarian movie in general. And today, we're going to examine some other Barbarian films. So let's set sail and chart a course for today's episode on behalf of Barbarian Tapes. Barbarian. 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 Oh, sorry. Wrong tape. Here we go. So let's continue our pleasant little journey through Barbarian movies with the follow-up to Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, which was released in theaters June 29th, 1984, and really wasn't what people were expecting when it came to a sequel to Conan the Barbarian, as this movie was widely noted for being more lighthearted and fun than the original Conan movie, which is a weird thing to say about a Conan movie, considering that Conan the Destroyer had its fair share of violence and blood, but came off and was perceived as more of a fantasy movie, because it incorporated more magic and zany stuff than the original Conan movie did. Not that it's not entertaining, and it is a fun movie. It had been described as the perfect sword and sorcery movie, and compared to Conan the Barbarian, this is more of a family movie, and I do use that term very lightly. It's very unexpected. But like I said, this isn't what you expect from a sequel to Conan the Barbarian. And also, the cast isn't what you'd expect. Grace Jones and Wilt Chamberlain are in it, and nobody saw that coming. But they did a great job, and they fit perfectly in this movie, and this movie wouldn't be the same without them. It also stars the girl who played the oldest sister in Wonder Years. That's right, she's in it too. And it also features a costumed Andre the Giant, as he portrays Dagoth, the giant monster at the end. And he went uncredited for this, but that's him. Kind of like how Cyndi Lauper chose to go uncredited for the Pee-wee's Playhouse theme song. But we're talking about Conan. We're not talking about Pee-wee's Playhouse, idiot. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Anyways, Conan the Destroyer is highly regarded as being more fun and entertaining than Conan the Barbarian. Now, there's lots of mixed opinions about that, on which movie is the better movie. Now, for my money, I love both of these movies. And if any of these are on television, that's what I'm going to be watching. In fact, I'm going to take that remote control and throw it out the window, because I won't be needing it for a while. But Conan the Destroyer does have its fair share of haters, and some of the criticism for this movie comes from the fact that people consider it too magical and zany. To which I say, hey, in the first movie, we saw James Earl Jones turn into a giant snake, and nobody had a problem with that. So let's not get picky now, okay? Anyways, Conan the Destroyer would go on to be released on VHS later on in 1984, and then again in 1991, and was actually part of a promotional box set that came with Conan the Barbarian, and was one of those two great movies, one low price kind of deals. And just like Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer is relatively easy to find today, and usually for around $5. But what is hard to find is the actual box set itself. But the single tapes are way easy to find. In fact, I found my copies at a thrift store for $1 each, and I about jumped through the roof when I found them. Okay, so everything's been pretty cut and dry so far. Big guy with a big sword, fur underwear, snake cults, Grace Jones. But let's make things a little confusing with the movie Red Sonja, which was released in theaters July 3rd, 1985, and still confuses people today. But I'll get into that a little bit later. For now, let's start at the beginning. Red Sonja is a character that is, in part, based on another character by Robert E. Howard. Yep, this guy again. But her full title was Red Sonja of Rogatino, and she was a swashbuckling lady pirate in the 16th century in Robert E. Howard's 1934 short story, The Shadow of the Vulture. But the Red Sonja we know and love today is a character created by writer Roy Thomas in 1973, who took the concept and turned her into a sword-swinging barbarian for the Marvel Comics version of Conan the Barbarian, thus making her a part of the Conan universe, where she'd be featured in numerous Conan comics, and later on would even be featured in other Marvel comics like Spider-Man and the Marvel What If series, where she battles Wolverine. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So why is this movie confusing? Well, because people automatically think this is the third Conan movie, but it's not, or at least not really. And I can't really blame anyone who thinks this. You see, since Red Sonja is a part of the Conan universe, technically this is a Conan movie. And what really fucks with people is the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this too. And of course, he's the guy that portrayed Conan, and he's the only one that can and will always be associated with Conan. But in this movie, he isn't Conan. He plays High Lord Calidor, and that part was originally going to be Conan, but for whatever reason, they decided against that. And they certainly promoted this movie as a Conan movie. Look at that poster. You see that, and then it becomes like Garth's haiku in Wayne's World. It's like, we're looking at Conan, only that's not Conan. Isn't that weird? And to top it off, the woman who plays Valeria in Conan the Barbarian is in this too. only she's not Valeria, because of course Valeria dies in Conan the Barbarian. But in this, she plays the villain, Queen Gidron, and the director is Richard Fleischer, the same director who directed Conan the Destroyer. So let's break this all down. The movie that's not a Conan movie, but takes place in the Conan universe, stars the same guy who was Conan, but isn't Conan, stars the same woman who was Valeria, but isn't Valeria, and was directed by the same director as the second Conan movie. Phew! I just can't blame anyone who thinks this is a Conan movie, because technically it is. But also it's not. But it is. But it's not. Anyways, this movie, like Conan the Destroyer, is a very fun movie, but its initial reception wasn't that hot. It was made for a budget of around $17 million, but only took in $6.9 million at the box office. 69, dudes! Oh, sorry. Anyways, this movie was a box office bomb, and it was Negative Review City. And Roger Ebert, who was the mayor of Negative Review City at the time, even said, "The dialogue sounds like the actors have already read the Mad Magazine parody of this film." Yeesh. And he even speculated that the film might even be a Conan spoof, due to the fact that it seemed like it was made poorly on purpose. Ouch. Now this movie has since gained cult acclaim, and though it really doesn't stack up to either of the Conan flicks, it's still a fun watch and a neat addition to any VHS collection. And speaking of that, it would go on to be released on VHS in 1986 by CBS Fox Home Video, and again in 1990 by MGM Home Video, and finally in 1999 again by MGM Home Video. So despite the fact that this film did poorly and is generally not well regarded, it was still released on home video by two major distributors. And also the early distributions go for a pretty steep price nowadays, but the 1999 copy is easy to find and cheap, mainly because MGM cranked these out by the shit ton. And it was part of their MGM Movie Time collection, which is the VHS collector term for worthless as a wet waffle. You see, through the 90s, VHS was becoming easier and cheaper to produce, and lots of studios would re-release older movies as part of some kind of collection, and made the price points very low, like $5 or $10, and you could find them anywhere. So when you found yourself at Walmart, drunk at 3:30 on a Saturday morning looking for bean dip, hey man, look! Red Sonja.
Oh, wow, man. I haven't seen that movie in forever, man.
And you'd end up leaving with a copy of Red Sonja and a bunch of Transformers. Not that I've ever done that. So, of course, Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja are some of the more well-known Barbarian movies, if not the most well-known Barbarian movies. But what about some Barbarian films that aren't well-known or even forgotten about? We'll take a look at these when we come back. Captain Adam's VHS pirate ship will return after this. Hey there folks, it's me, Little Vino, and let me guess, you fucked your car up again. Maybe your check engine light's been on for 3 goddamn years, but you just can't be bothered to get it checked out. You think it's some kind of decoration or something. Or maybe you need some body work, because you rear-ended somebody while you were checking your Gmail. But don't worry, I'm sure the guy in front of you is just thrilled to know that you can make it to little Susie's 7th birthday party. Or maybe you're just a fucking moron and don't even know how to pop your hood. Well, I can't fix morons, but I can fix your car. And I ain't here to judge, I'm just here to take your money and serve you a nice cheesesteak while you wait. We do all kinds of automotive repair and got lots of cheesesteaks. And for a limited time only, get a free Captain Adam calendar with any oil change and blinker fluid fill-up. So come on down to Little Vino's Automotive Repair and Cheesesteak Emporium. I can't put a brain in your head, but I can put oil in your car and serve you a nice cheesesteak. Just because you're a fucking moron doesn't mean your taste buds are. Little Vino's Automotive Repair and Cheesesteak Emporium. Yeehaw! Come on down to Cowboy Pork Chops, Show Compute Family Restaurants. Never mind the lawsuits, come on down and rustle you up some grub. Get our world-famous fried fart basket, only $5. Or lasso yourself an armpit and cheese submarine sandwich, only $5. Or try our homemade boogerloaf platter, only $5. And try our new dessert menu. Get yourself a slice of loogie meringue pie, only $2. Or get yourself a big old used bathwater milkshake, only $3. And come in and try my new chocolate wonderful. I swear it's chocolate. You get a free Captain Atom toy with every Buckaroo Kids meal. And be sure to check out our new Little Buckaroo Playland, now snake-free. And get a Captain Adam's VHS pirate ship commemorative glass with the purchase of any entree. So come on down to Cowboy Pork Chop's Choke and Puke Family Restaurant. That's right on the corner of Route 25 and Kenilworth Boulevard, right beside Bill's Dirty Mattress Outlet. Yee-haw! Chocolate Wonderful is actually diarrhea. Cowboy Pork Chop not responsible for death or illness.
Springtime, the world's awakening from winter's slumber, the time for rebirth and renewal, and the blossoming of a new day, a new season, and destruction! It's the PWF Spring in the Ring! Only on pay-per-view, Sunday, May 20th. Call your local cable provider today and don't miss any of the action as Big Dump Ferguson takes on Mystery Meat for the PWF World Championship title. Tinkerbell takes on Dr. Ketchup in the grudge match of the century. And the PWF World Championship Tag Team titles are up for grabs as the Clowntown City Council takes on Skidmark Calhoun and Pittsney. And the action continues as Friar Truck takes on Mr. Sister in a Midnight Mass Madness match. I don't even know what that is. The Glove takes on Booger Lee Winston in a charming Herb Garden match. Your guess is as good as mine. Barbecue Loaf teams up with Conan Pepperslaw to take on Dirty Sanchez Robusto and Uncle Mustache. It's the PWF Spring in the Ring, only on pay-per-view Sunday, May 20th. Call your local cable provider today and don't miss the blossoming of destruction.
We now return you to Captain Adam's VHS pirate ship.
Hey, now roll over. Now don't smell that. Oh, gee. Oh, hey, mates. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I'm just getting psyched up for our next segment where I'm going to be talking about the Beastmaster. And I'm trying my hand at becoming a Beastmaster myself. See, I got a lion. I traded my Highlander box set for him. And, well, he's a little strange. You know, he just don't act right. And, I don't know. He's weird. Like, whatever you do, don't bring up the Olsen twins.
Nah, don't worry, it'll clot. Gangrene is good for you. Anyways, where was I? So, I think it's safe to say that everyone knows who Conan is. And people are relatively familiar with Red Sonja, but what about Dar? Well, you may know him as the Beastmaster, which was released in theaters August 20th, 1982. And it's loosely, and I mean very loosely, based on the 1959 novel The Beastmaster by Andre Norton. You see, the novel is about a Navajo fighter called Hosteen Storm, who could communicate with animals, and it takes place in a futuristic setting. And the film is a sword and sorcery flick that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the future. The only similarity is the fact that the main character can talk to animals. I mean, they didn't even keep his name. It's not Hosteen Storm, it's Dar. So naturally, Andre Norton hated this entire thing, but certainly liked the money. And in all actuality, the studio didn't buy the story, they really just bought the title. Now, there's plenty to debate about this film, so let me waste a little more of your time. One of the typical arguments is that this is a Conan ripoff. But it's debatable that this is even a Barbarian movie and not a sword and sorcery movie. And the line between Barbarian movies and sword and sorcery movies is very thin. In fact, the only thing that makes The Beastmaster a Barbarian movie is the fact that the main character doesn't wear a shirt, which is common with Barbarian imagery and Glenn Danzig. And one major thing that adds to the Beastmaster is a Conan ripoff argument is the fact that Conan the Barbarian and the Beastmaster were released in the same year. But not only that, they were also released within a few months of each other. So it is easy to think that the Beastmaster is a direct Conan ripoff, but it isn't when a film is released, it's when the film started production. The Beastmaster started production midway in 1980, and Conan was supposed to start production way before that. The rights to the Conan properties were acquired in the mid-1960s, and the film was supposed to start production in the 70s, but it was all tied up with licensing, litigation, and didn't start production until 1980. So in reality, the two films were released in the same year and started production in the same year. So it's not looking too good for the Beastmaster. It might as well be a Conan ripoff. But is it? Is it really? Is it really? Some say yes, but I say no. Think about it. The concepts are totally different. The Beastmaster concept is a very different take on the whole barbarian movie thing. The main character, Dar, is not only a sword swinger, but also has the ability to talk to animals, which makes this a unique combination of Conan the Barbarian and Dr. Dolittle. That's really weird to say, but it's true, and whether you like this movie or not, it's still pretty original, and it was mildly successful at the box office, but it didn't get its cult following until it started showing on HBO and TBS. And its VHS release certainly helped its aftermarket success, as did its beta, Laserdisc, and CED release. And it was originally released on VHS in 1983 by MGM Home Video in their famous book box, which makes this pretty sought after by collectors. And if you want one today, it'll run you around $25. It would be released again by MGM Home Video in 1991, and even that one will run you close to $20, and it would be released one more time in 2001. And naturally, since that is the latest and most common distribution, it's a buyer's market, which is fancy talk for it sells cheap as shit. So the Beastmaster does have the advantage over the Conan movies when it comes to VHS. They're simply just more sought after. And as time passed, the world went on its merry way, being perfectly fine with having only one Beastmaster movie, and then suddenly, at the behest of absolutely no one, the Beastmaster 2, Through the Portal of Time, was released, which was August 30th, 1991, and it was destroyed by critics, and the most common criticism it received was that it was an ill-advised sequel, because really, why wait so long to make a sequel to the Beastmaster? Surely no one will care about this movie. And its box office results prove that, as it didn't even break $1 million. And the plot didn't help. As the title infers, Dar is transported to the modern time, making the whole thing unforgivably ridiculous. I mean, I don't get it. Were they going for a Masters of the Universe kind of thing? Yeah, because that movie was so successful. And don't worry, I'll be talking about that abomination in a future episode. So anyways, The Beastmaster 2, Through the Portal of Time, was released on home video in 1992, as well as on Laserdisc. And both of these can go for around $20 today. And so after the non-success of The Beastmaster 2, surely we can just move on and assume there's no other Beast. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yep, there was a Beastmaster 3, The Eye of Braxis. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, this was a made-for-TV movie. So, you know. But say what you will, it aired on a major network. It premiered on NBC May 24th, 1996. And it actually isn't all that bad. It's better than the second one is, that's for sure. And again, it's just a little hard to believe that a major network like NBC would pick up this project and show it in a primetime spot. Wow. But maybe it didn't pay off all that well. I mean, most people don't even know there was a third Beastmaster movie, so there's that. It took some stones to pull this project off, so that's commendable. And it would go on to be immortalized on VHS later on in 1996. And there's even a Laserdisc for this. And the VHS will run you around $10 today, and you can even find a screening copy of this movie for around $10. So that's pretty weird. Okay, so Conan, Red Sonja, Dar, Falsa Doom's weird hair. All these things are relatively familiar barbarian imagery and relatively familiar barbarian movies. But let's hoist another sail and get 3 sheets to the wind and talk about some not-so-familiar barbarian movies. Mainly the gratuitous, absurd, and absolutely ridiculous barbarian movies of the 80s. You see, one of the things that Conan the Barbarian, the movie, did was open the door for other barbarian films to be made. And in seeing the popularity of Conan the Barbarian, other studios wanted to jump on the barbarian bandwagon and make some big old barbarian bucks. And while I don't really consider The Beastmaster a Conan the Barbarian ripoff, here are some movies that absolutely are, or should I say, are. So let's start with Deathstalker, and probably the king of gratuitous sex and violence when it comes to barbarian movies. It was released in theaters September 2nd, 1983, and was pretty successful. It was made for a modest budget of an estimated $457,000 and took in almost $12 million at the box office. And the reviews were, mixed. Yeah, we'll go with mixed. The reviews were mixed, you could say. The Boston Globe said the film was a cauldron brimming with stale filmmaking. Aside from the numerous rapes and endless violence, Deathstalker drips with dullness. The movie is so bad that the director can't even give you a credible decapitation. And the Los Angeles Times noted that the film was funny on purpose and pleasantly silly. Pleasantly silly? And praised its brisk direction. Well, everyone's a critic, I guess. And though Deathstalker was mildly successful at the box office, its real fame didn't come till it was released on home video in 1984. And actually, it was one of the most frequently rented VHS. And even this had a laserdisc. This movie is now a cult classic, and it's certainly a piece you'd want for your VHS collection. And if you gotta have one, it'll cost you around $20. So what do you do when you make a film that's mostly hated by critics and the general public? Well, you make a sequel, of course. In fact, you make 3 of them. And we got them with Deathstalker 2 in 1987, Deathstalker and the Warriors from Hell in 1989, and Deathstalker 4, Match of Titans in 1991. And the VHS for Deathstalker 3 and 4 is actually really hard to find. And if you do find Deathstalker 2, it goes for a pretty high price. $60. Holy shit. And so, what's better than one barbarian? 2 barbarians. And we got that with the movie The Barbarians, which was released in theaters March 20th, 1987, and starred Peter and David Paul, who were actors, bodybuilders, and identical twins. Man, if that's not a gimmick, I don't know what is. And they were so well known for their image that people just started calling them the Barbarian Brothers. And they starred in a small slew of movies, and then they just kind of simply disappeared. And I theorize that if this gimmick was brought forth, say, in the 1970s, it probably would have been way more successful. I mean, it's definitely an original act, and you don't really see this anywhere else. I mean, twin brothers that are also bodybuilders and actors. I don't know, it's kind of unheard of. For whatever reason, the gimmick just didn't stick, and the Barbarians didn't do very well at the box office. Didn't even break $1 million. But everything changed when this came to home video, and now it's a very sought after VHS. It's very hard to find, and if you do find one, it's very expensive. And then we have the Sword of the Barbarians, which is a total Conan ripoff, and is an Italian barbarian film that was released in 1982, and is a spin-off of the Ator the Fighting Eagle film series, which is also an Italian barbarian film that was released in 1982, and is also a direct Conan ripoff. All in all, there are 4 movies in the Ator film series. And the VHS of any of these, from the Sword of the Barbarians to any 4 of the Ator movies, is extremely hard to find. So yes, there's plenty of Conan ripoffs, but are there any Red Sonja ripoffs? Of course there are, mainly being 1985's Barbarian Queen, which, as the name infers, is about a barbarian woman whose wedding is interrupted by marauders. Don't you hate it when that happens? Am I right, ladies? Huh? Am I right? And yes, this movie has its fair share of gratuitous sex and violence. It would later be released on VHS by Vestron Video, and this is actually pretty easy to find and relatively cheap compared to everything else. And of course, there is a sequel to this with Barbarian Queen 2, The Empress Strikes Back. Oh, I see what they did there. It was released in 1990, and the VHS is also pretty easy to find. And this movie really has nothing to do whatsoever with the first Barbarian Queen film. So, great filmmaking there. And there was plans to make a 3rd Barbarian Queen movie, but they quickly realized that nobody gave a shit. It was going to be called Barbarian Queen 3, Revenge of the She-King. She-King? Isn't that what a queen is? I mean, you're just kind of making up stuff at this moment. I mean, there's already a word for that. It's queen. It's literally in your fucking title of the movie. And then there's the 1986 film, Amazons, which is exactly what it says it is. It's a film about Amazons. And as far as finding the VHS for this, all I can say is, good luck. And let me close out today's show by talking about The Warrior and the Sorceress, which was released September 7th, 1984, and stars David Carradine, and was produced by Roger Corman, who was also a producer on Deathstalker. This film is noted for being a bizarre adaptation of the 1961 Japanese film Yojimbo, and it's also noted for having lots of nudity and violence. Nudity and violence. Nudity and violence. Nudity and violence. And the poster's pretty neat. Wait, does that lady have 4 boobs? Huh. Well, Thanks for the memories. And as you can imagine, this movie wasn't very well loved by critics. The Philadelphia Inquirer said that the film was an unashamedly sordid rehashing and retrashing of Yojimbo, and it was a mixture of Fistful of Dollars, Star Wars, and Conan the Barbarian. Is that supposed to be an insult? I'm not sure what they were going for there. And the Los Angeles Times said the film had awkward action, a general air of determined viciousness, and so much overacting that it seemed like a dramatic new style was being forged. Well, the Los Angeles Times certainly had some very constructive criticism in a very nice way. How pleasant. Well, anyways, The Warrior and the Sorceress would go on to be released on VHS, and it is actually pretty easy to find and pretty cheap. But the Laserdisc is a little more rare and a little more expensive. And I know a lot of people consider this movie a sword and sorcery movie as opposed to a barbarian movie. But it's certainly worth mentioning, and it brings up another good point. You see, a barbarian movie can also be a sword and sorcery movie, but a sword and sorcery movie cannot also be a barbarian movie. Pretty weird, huh?
Actually, what if the main character is a barbarian?
Well then, it's a barbarian movie. Think about it. Would you consider Willow a barbarian movie? Would you consider Excalibur a barbarian movie? Would you consider Dragon Slayer a barbarian movie? No. And the question remains, will I be talking about the Hunter from the Future in this episode? Well, no, because it's kind of more like a caveman movie. So that inspires me to make a caveman movie episode. So stay tuned for that one. So in closing, the barbarian movie is certainly an underrated subgenre of film. And whether the movie is good or bad, and there's plenty of bad ones, you still remember them once you've seen them. And you simply cannot top Conan the Barbarian. What a great movie, and it's going to be great for all time. And I certainly hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you didn't, then to hell with you. Barbarian. Barbarian. With the headband. Barbarian. They got you hacking and slashing, all the brains are bashing. Barbarian. Night Goose returns for an all-new... Unleash Hell. Thanks a lot for watching, and be sure to hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe.